The mashed potatoes were dry, the wine was cheap, and the fake smiles were thicker than the gravy. I sat at the far end of Sharon's massive dining table like a guest at my own execution. My name's Erica. I'm 31. I live in Northern California, just outside Chico, and I hate Thanksgiving at my dad's house. Before we go on, quick note, where are you watching from today? Sharon clinked her glass with a butter knife. Let's go around and share what we're grateful for, and maybe a little update. Her voice had that sweet tea poison tone, and everyone knew what was coming. Trent went first. Just got promoted to senior regional at Devlin Tech. Boss says I've got the best close rate in the district. Applause. Sharon beamed like she gave birth to him yesterday. Oh, Trent, you always were the charming one. Mark chimed in. I proposed to Chelsea last week. More applause. More cooing. Sharon actually teared up. Our little Mark marrying into the Whitmans. What a power couple. Then Jenna. I just accepted an offer from Cedar Health, starting at $250 with a relocation bonus. People clapped like she'd won a Nobel. Sharon wiped her eyes again, and Dad put a hand on Jenna's shoulder. That's my girl. Always knew you'd make it. Then everyone turned to me. Silence. I gave a polite smile. Still running my landscaping business. We just finished a native plant xeriscape project for... Dad cut me off. Still mowing lawns, huh? That stung. I felt my chest tighten, but I forced a smile. It's a little more than that, but sure, Trent snorted. Didn't you just downgrade to a smaller truck? Mark jumped in. Yeah, Sharon said you moved to some old fixer-upper place out in the sticks. I opened my mouth, but Dad leaned back and shook his head. You know, Erica, it's not that you're not working, but where's the ambition? You've been spinning your wheels since high school. Jenna laughed under her breath. She probably spends more on gas than she makes in profit. Sharon leaned in like she was trying to soften the blow. We all want you to do well, sweetie, but maybe it's time to be honest about your limits. I stared at the cranberry sauce and gripped my fork tight. Then Dad said it. At some point, I have to focus on my real kids. I stood up, didn't say a word. My chair scraped loud against the floor, and that's all they heard from me. I walked straight out the front door. The cold air hit my face the second I stepped outside. I didn't even grab my coat. Just walked straight to my truck, climbed in, and sat there in the driveway with my hands on the wheel, breathing through my teeth. Real kids. His words echoed in my head like they'd been waiting for the right moment to stab. I backed out, flipped around, and didn't look back once. It was a 2-hour drive home, mostly dark highway and silence, except for the rumble of my tires and that voice in my head. Still mowing lawns, spinning your wheels, not worth his time. By the time I pulled through my front gate, the moon was high over the hills. My motion lights lit up the driveway, the gravel crunching under the tires as I pulled up to the main house. The fixer-upper, as Mark called it, was a 6-bedroom ranch estate sitting on 27 acres of clean green land. Solar panels lined the roof. My greenhouse lights glowed faintly behind the stables. Wind rustled the olive trees out back. A couple of my horses stirred in the barn as I walked past. I fed them, gave one a scratch behind the ear, then went inside. The house was quiet, warm, still smelled like the cedar planks I'd used on the walls. I took off my boots, tossed my jacket over the bench, and sat on the couch without turning on the TV. I just stared into the dark. He really said that, out loud, in front of everyone. At some point, I have to focus on my real kids. I'd paid for Trent's college loan shortfall, loaned Mark money for his engagement ring, quietly co-signed a private med school loan for Jenna when her FAFSA got screwed up. And for what? Monday morning, I was up at 6, ate oatmeal, watched the sun come up over the back pasture. Then I walked into my home office and made the call I should have made years ago. Hey, it's Erica, I said when my consultant picked up. I want to start pulling my money out of the Wilder Ranch Retirement Collective. There was a pause. All of it? Every cent? He cleared his throat. That's a huge withdrawal. You understand, Erica, this fund is heavily leveraged with your capital. Removing it all will... I know exactly what it'll do. I'm not asking for permission. He let out a breath. Okay, you're the primary liquidity pillar. If you go, the structure collapses. Then let it collapse. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He hesitated again. We're talking about nearly $35 million in active value. You really want it all liquidated? I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window. My horses were grazing, My greenhouse panels were reflecting gold in the morning light. Yeah, all of it, confirmed the withdrawal. I'll start the process. Expect some noise. Phones are gonna ring. Let them. We hung up. I closed my laptop and sat there in the quiet, surrounded by the life I built. They could laugh about my truck, mock my house, dismiss me to my face. But I wasn't the one in debt. I wasn't the one clinging to a retirement fund I didn't even control. They thought I was dead weight. They were about to learn what happens when the weight they've been leaning on decides to move. My phone was already vibrating before I rolled over. 11 missed calls, all from Dad. It was barely 7 a.m. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and watched it buzz across the nightstand again. He was calling for the 12th time. I let it ring out. Then it buzzed once more. Voicemail received. And again. New voicemail. Then it rang again. I picked it up this time, more curious than anything. I didn't even say hello. Just waited. His voice came through, panicked and tight. Erica, something's wrong with the trust. I can't access my account? I stayed quiet. They froze all distributions this morning, said there's a liquidity issue. He was breathing heavy, like he'd jogged to the phone. The administrator said one of the major investors pulled out. No notice, just yanked everything. That sounds serious, I said flatly. You don't know anything about this? Why would I? I got out of bed and started walking toward the kitchen. Because the timing's insane. Right after Thanksgiving, he said. Right after you stormed out? Right after you told me I wasn't worth your time. He went quiet for a second. Then, they're saying it was over $30 million. That's not just some investor. That's someone who was carrying this whole thing. I grabbed a mug and poured coffee, not bothering with milk. Maybe call the trust manager. Sounds like a them problem. I did. He snapped. They won't give names. Client privacy. But Erica, this is going to sink the whole retirement system. Mine, Sharon's, half my friends. If we don't figure out what happened, that's tough. Another pause. His voice dropped. You didn't, right? You didn't touch anything? I took the phone off speaker and pressed it to my ear. Dad, if you think I have 35 million just lying around in a trust fund, then you clearly don't know me at all. I'm starting to think I don't. I sipped my coffee and leaned against the counter, watching the fog roll over the hills outside. You're right, I said finally. You don't. He sounded like he was swallowing glass. Erica, please, if you know anything, you need to tell me. The whole fund could collapse. This is serious. People are going to lose everything. You mean you are? He didn't answer, so I gave it to him straight. You want to know who pulled the money? Yes. Who has 35 million in a trust fund? I repeated. Yes. I let the silence hang for just a second longer. Then I said, calm and clear, someone you didn't think was worth your time. He sucked in a breath like I'd punched him. I hung up, walked to the sink, dumped the rest of the coffee. Phone rang again, straight to voicemail. I didn't answer. My phone started ringing again less than a minute after I hung up. Same caller, same panic. I let it buzz twice before picking up. You still want answers? Yes. His voice was clipped. What the hell is going on? I walked out to the back porch, bare feet on the cool planks, morning air still thick with dew. You remember when I was 21 and you laughed when I said I was going to start my own business? Number, I don't. You said, landscaping isn't a real career unless you're Mexican or desperate. He didn't respond. Well, I went out and got desperate. I applied for state clean energy grants, conservation partnerships, local contracts. I pitched cities on drought-resistant municipal redesigns. One small job turned into 5. 5 turned into 50. Now, I own the biggest eco-design landscaping firm in 3 states. Silence. I kept going. We've got long-term government contracts, tech campus redesigns. I employ over 200 people. I sit on 2 regional planning boards. And yes, I still get my hands dirty. He finally spoke. You never said anything. You never asked. I thought you worked for someone? That was convenient for you to believe. He let out a shaky breath. And the trust? How long were you part of that? 6 years. They were struggling to keep it afloat. I was making enough to support them quietly. You never noticed because it was easier to pretend I didn't matter. That's not true, isn't it? I walked down the porch steps and crossed the yard. The greenhouse glinted in the sun. You mocked my truck. It's a custom restoration I had built by hand. I've also got a new F-150 in the garage and a Tesla, but I don't bring those to your house because I already know how that goes. He was quiet again. That fixer-upper you talked about? I paid cash for this place. It's worth over $8 million now. On top of the ranch, I've got ag investments, solar holdings, land leases, and equity in a couple ecotech startups. I turned around and headed back inside, grabbing my laptop off the counter. I opened my portfolio dashboard and glanced at the total. My net worth just passed 200 million, give or take. His breath caught. I heard it, sharp and audible. 200 million. Yes. You're lying. I hit a button and took a screenshot. I can send you the breakdown if it helps. He didn't say anything, nothing. Just that weird, stunned quiet like his brain hadn't caught up yet. I sat down, crossed my legs, and stared out the window. All this time, he muttered. You were just sitting there, letting us think. That I was a failure? I said. Yeah, I let you. Why? Because it didn't matter to me. Until you made it matter. He sounded hollow now. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. Another long silence stretched out, then barely audible. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Dad, I said, voice flat. You already said everything you needed to at Thanksgiving. Erica, his voice cracked like gravel under a tire. I was wrong. I had no idea what you'd built. I didn't even blink. You didn't want to know. He went quiet again. You only paid attention when someone's success looked like yours. Loud, flashy, bragging about bonuses and diamond rings. That's not... Cut the denial, Dad. You wanted to be impressed. I didn't perform for you, so you tuned me out. I didn't mean to tune you out, he said. I just thought, I don't know, maybe you were fine just coasting. I laughed once, sharp. You saw a woman running her own business, buying land, taking care of herself, and called it coasting? He exhaled like I'd knocked the wind out of him. I'm trying to say I'm sorry. I didn't pull my money out to punish you. You didn't? He asked. No, I said firm. I did it because I finally realized I don't owe you my silence. I'm done propping up people who pretend I don't exist until they need something. Erica, this is my retirement, Sharon's, our entire future. I rubbed my forehead and paced the room. You told me I wasn't worth your time. Now my money's not worth saving your lifestyle. He didn't answer. I stopped pacing and stood still, waiting. Nothing. That told me everything I needed to know. So I said, good luck figuring it out, and ended the call. The moment the line went dead, it felt like oxygen finally came back into the room. I stood there in the middle of my kitchen, surrounded by everything I'd earned, and didn't feel one bit guilty, not one. I walked to my office, sat down, and called Mitch, my financial consultant. He answered on the first ring. Erica, everything okay? Yeah, but I want to move quickly on something. All right. I want to build a new fund, I said. Private, no family connections, no backdoors. I want full control and I want it to benefit people who actually work. Got it. Any specifics? Small-town teachers, farm workers, anyone who actually breaks their back for a paycheck and still retires broke. He paused. You want this to be a nonprofit? Yep, we'll structure it under a philanthropic shell, but with actual financial vehicles behind it. I want retirement plans, not pity checks. He whistled under his breath. You're serious. Dead serious. I can start the blueprint tonight. Send it when it's ready. We'll name it after the land, I added. Call it the Wilder Fund. But this time, it's for people who deserve better. I hung up and looked out at my horses through the office window. This wasn't revenge. This was correction. I was still staring out the window when Trent's name popped up on my phone. I didn't want to answer, but I did. He didn't waste a second. What the hell did you do to Dad? He's been sobbing and calling everybody like someone died. I didn't do anything to him, I said, calm as ever. He's just finally facing consequences for how he treats people. Trent scoffed. Oh, come on. You think this is justified? You humiliate him and then act like he had it coming? I walked into the living room and sank into the couch. You didn't seem too worried about humiliation when I was getting dogpiled at Thanksgiving. That's different. Really? How? He's our father, Erica. And I'm your sister. Did that matter when you were laughing at my house, my job, my truck? He didn't say anything. I let the silence drag before I dropped it. The trust collapsed because I left. I was the trust. You're joking. Nope, I pulled every dime. Trent went quiet. Then he said, You let us believe you were broke. Number, you chose to believe that because it made you feel superior. You should have said something. Why? I asked. So you could give me a pat on the head and act impressed? You wouldn't have respected me more, just resented me sooner. He tried again. This isn't how families work. We're supposed to stick together. I felt my jaw tighten. You mean like you all stuck together while Dad called me deadweight in front of the table? We didn't know he was going to say that. And not one of you said a damn thing after he did. I'll talk to them. We'll apologize. I laughed under my breath. You think an apology erases who you've been for years? We were just caught up in our own stuff. No, I said, my voice low now. You were raised to believe I didn't matter. You ran with it. I said we'll apologize. He snapped. I don't want an apology. I want change behavior. Until that happens, save your breath. He let out a frustrated breath. So what now? You just cut everyone off? No, I said. You all made your choices. Now I'm making mine. He hung up without saying goodbye. Good. My phone didn't even get a full hour's rest before Jenna called. I almost didn't answer, but I was curious how fake she'd sound. Hey, Erica, she started, sweet as syrup. I just wanted to check in. You doing okay? I rolled my eyes. I'm fine. You? She sighed, like she was carrying the emotional weight of the entire family. It's just, things have been kind of chaotic. Dad's not himself. He's like spiraling. Interesting. Wonder why. She paused, then laughed lightly. You know how he is. Anyway, we've been talking, and maybe it's time we all come together. Like, maybe we could pitch in to help Dad recover. As a family, I leaned against the kitchen counter and stared at the wall. I don't need help, Jenna. No, not you. I mean, we help Dad. Maybe chip in toward rebuilding the trust, or set something up for him and Sharon until they're stable again. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. You really think I pulled my money out without having a plan? There was a short silence on her end. So, you do have something else going? I'm handling it? Her tone shifted, still trying to sound casual, but I could hear the calculation now. I mean, it's just, you said something to Trent about the trust collapsing because of you. That's kind of a big claim. It's not a claim, it's a fact. Well, how much were you even invested in it? Enough to freeze the entire thing when I pulled out. She went quiet again. I let that sink in before adding, I'm already building a new fund. From scratch. Without any of you involved. You're what? You heard me. Wait, you're seriously in a place where you can just make a retirement fund? I've done it before, I said. I bailed out a city's retirement system 3 years ago. Quietly, no headlines. I can do it again, for the right people. Her voice got stiff. So just not your own family. That's right. She let out a sharp exhale. We didn't know you were this capable. You didn't care if I was. I care now. Too late. She hung up before I could. Good. 10 minutes later, Mark called. Okay, he said, skipping the small talk. What did you mean about building a new fund? I walked out to the porch, phone tucked between my ear and shoulder. Exactly what it sounds like. I'm starting over, not dragging dead weight with me. Jesus, Erica. We're not dead weight. No. Who stood up for me at dinner? We didn't know you were going to snap like that. I leaned on the railing. You laughed while I was being humiliated. So yeah, I snapped. He sighed. Look, we didn't mean it like that. You never mean it like anything. You just do it. And it's always at my expense. So this is payback? This is a boundary. He got quiet. I'm not your backup plan anymore, I said. Get used to it. It was dark out when my phone lit up again. Dad. I stared at the screen for a second, then answered. No rush in my voice, just a quiet, yeah? He didn't start with excuses this time, just said, I was wrong. I sat down on the porch swing and waited. I shouldn't have said what I said at Thanksgiving, he went on. I was cruel. I get it now. I let the silence sit heavy before asking, would you have loved me if I really was broke? He hesitated. Then, yes. And I should have loved you no matter what. I should have seen who you were a long time ago. My chest tightened a little, but I kept my voice steady. Words cost nothing, Dad. I'll believe it when you prove it. He sniffed, trying to keep it together. How? You want to be in my life? I asked. Then start by showing up. He was quiet again. I'm not inviting you to fix anything with money. You don't get to buy your way back in. I'm not trying to, he said. I just want to know how to be better. Then listen. I'm listening. I took a breath and told him. I bought a new house, close to town, 15 minutes from here. He didn't say anything. I kept going. I am adopting. The paperwork's almost done. He sucked in a breath. You are? Yeah, a 6-year-old boy. His name's Leo. He loves gardening and wants to learn how to build tree forts. There was a pause. Then I heard it. His voice cracked. I'm going to be a grandpa. That's what I said. He didn't speak, just broke down on the phone. I heard it all, his breath hitching, a half sob trying to hold itself back. It wasn't loud, but it was real. I'm sorry, he said again. I was blind, Erica. You deserved better from me. I don't want to miss the rest of your life. Or his, I swallowed. Hard. This isn't about what you want. It's about what you're willing to show up for. I will, he said. I swear to God I will. I'll come, every week. Anything you need. I don't need anything, Dad. I'm not calling for help. I know. You want to be here? Then be here. That's it. No lectures, no judgments, no comparisons. I'm done with all of that, he said. I looked up at the stars above the ranch. Then we'll see. He exhaled into the phone. Thank you for not hanging up. I almost did. I believe it, he said, and laughed softly through his tears. I didn't laugh back, but I didn't hang up either. 6 months later, Leo was digging up my tomatoes with a plastic trowel and yelling at a beetle for touching his lettuce. I sat on the porch steps, sipping sweet tea, watching him destroy the raised bed I built last spring. And honestly, I didn't care. The kid was obsessed with gardening. If it kept him off screens and in the dirt, I'd buy him a whole damn shovel set. My dad pulled up right on time, as usual, Saturday at 10 sharp. He'd started bringing wood and tools from his garage the first weekend I moved in. Today he had brackets for the tree fort frame and a milk crate full of screws. Where's my helper? He called. Backyard, I said, yelling at bugs. He chuckled and walked around the side of the house, toolbox in hand. No speeches, no awkward jokes. Just showing up. Exactly how I'd asked. The nonprofit went live in April. The Wilder Fund, rebuilt from the ground up, only this time, it wasn't for Sharon's tennis friends or Dad's golf buddies. We partnered with local unions, farming co-ops, even a rural teachers alliance. People noticed, fast. By June, it was featured in a statewide education journal as a next-gen retirement model. I didn't smile when I saw it, but I didn't frown either. When Sunday came, I had a roast in the oven and beer in the cooler. My siblings were already pulling into the driveway before noon. Jenna walked in first, holding a lemon pie from some overpriced bakery. So, how exactly do you scale a green infrastructure firm across 3 states without investors? I handed her a dish towel and said, sit down. I'll show you the numbers. Trent actually brought a notebook. Not gonna lie, I thought you were just planting succulents in rich people's yards. This is wild. Mark came last. He brought brownies and a 6-pack. Didn't say much, just gave me a nod and helped set the table. My dad sat at the end, same as always, but this time, he listened more than he talked. He smiled when Leo showed him a worm, asked questions when Jenna bragged about a new medical project, stayed quiet when Trent made a dumb joke. And when I glanced across the table, he was already looking at me. I didn't nod. I didn't need to. The apology wasn't perfect, but he was here, and that's what counted. I didn't just prove my worth. I changed what they thought worth even meant